Welcome to our new series, The Body's Truth, the Inside Story. In this series, we are discovering a remarkable sensing instrument that is the body. Our body senses what is true or untrue at multiple levels. It also brings together many experiences from the past and the present, and it is always sending you wise messages. These messages reveal a wisdom from the deep, deep sea inside you. But you can only listen to your body when you have patience, clarity, and courage. Then let's begin.
Join spiritual psychologist and India's #1 biofeedback practitioner, Ritu Malhotra, as she guides you through the paths of self-discovery and personal transformation so that you can live in alignment with your values and purpose. This podcast is brought to you by Ajna Center for Learning. To know more about Ajna and connecting with the host, check out the links given in show notes. You are listening to the Cellular Alchemist podcast, and here's your host, Ritu Malhotra.
Everyday anxiety. We humans are able to handle pain quite well, even acute pain. The body is fairly pain resistant because if there's even a time when there is a pain overload, like when it gets too much for us and we feel we can't bear it, the brain just switches off and we faint. So that's a protection that is built in. Pain is like a protection for the body. So we also learn to cope with fear just like we deal with pain, but in a variety of ways. Like we either confront it head on, like we may fight it, or we may run away and hide until we're safe, or we freeze when the brain gives us no options at all and we are rooted in the spot. But the interesting truth is that it is not the pain or the fear, but the fear of pain that is really destructive. It's the imagined, expected, anticipated devil, this fear of pain. Let me give you an example. Let's say I have an accident and I fracture my leg. Of course it will hurt, but in a few hours, I will learn to deal with it. I will get help. I will take some painkillers. I'll go to the hospital and get a proper plaster. And I might limp for a while, but eventually I will learn to cope. Now, on the other hand, if you were to make a prediction that tomorrow at 4 p.m., my leg would be fractured. Oh my God. I wouldn't be able to eat or sleep. I'd be an absolute wreck. So pain and fear are still tolerable. It is the fear of pain that we all can't handle, and that derails our comfort and security. And the more concerning thing is that it has a likelihood of becoming habitual, because we anticipate it. So, psychologists call anticipatory anxiety a very common thing that they deal with. The truth is that the future always seems out of our reach. Can we hang on to it? We really can't. Do you know why it's out of reach? Because it essentially doesn't exist. The only place it can be found is in our heads. But why do we see the future with so much apprehension? The reason is that the unknown always represents a possible threat. What we don't know, we can't control. And what we can't control is very scary. This is the cause of much of our depression and pessimism. So, how can we free ourselves from this negative spiral? Because it exists and originates in our heads, we need to begin in our heads, which is our thoughts. Thoughts like, what if this happens? What if I get sick? What if so and so doesn't come? What if I lose my job? They tend to haunt our minds like ghosts. So, what can we do? I suggest that we start by bringing clarity to what it is that we fear. Ask yourself out loud, or write it down, or talk it out with a counselor. This will help you become aware of the positive changes that you can make, that can move you towards a new beginning, a positive change, and begin to refocus your attention on your strengths and create a fertile ground for newness, something that is different, something that is filled with possibility, a new choice. The bottom line is that the future will always be uncertain. But we can also look at it as always having a future to look forward to. And that we have a big role to play in how it turns out. I want to repeat this. We have a big role to play in how our future turns out. I personally always choose Serenity as my song. Que sera, sera. You know that song. So sing it. By having confidence in ourselves and accepting and embracing uncertainty, we can make the best of our future. Don't you think so? But don't take my word for it. Sing the song yourself, often, especially when the going gets tough.
That was this week's episode for the Cellular Alchemist podcast with spiritual psychologist Ritu Malhotra. Don't forget to follow the podcast and join us next week for yet another episode. Thank you for listening.